Set your proton packs, get ready to melt some marshmallows, and buy your copy of People's Sexiest Man Alive because Sony has brought this franchise back from the dead after 2016's reboot.
I mean, 4 female Ghostbusters? The feminists are taking over. I'm an adult virgin.
Ghostbusters Afterlife is pure nostalgia cranked up to 11, and in this video we'll be going over its connection to previous Ghostbusters movies, its ending, and yes, those post-credit scenes which hint at a potential sequel. But before we start busting, you know it feels good, make sure to like and subscribe so I can finally move out of my parents' basement. Ghostbusters Afterlife begins overlooking the Shandor mine in the fictitious town of Somerville, Oklahoma, which was actually shot in Alberta, Canada. Ivo Shandor was the primary villain in the Ghostbusters video game and also designed the Central Park apartments, which served as the resurrection location for the ancient Sumerian god Gozer. We'll get into her in a bit. Part of the mystery of Afterlife's opening centers around Egon Spengler, who, after the events of the first 2 movies, has abandoned his family and friends to live alone on this secluded farm. A secluded farm which his daughter and grandkids inherit after his death at the beginning of the film. It's this event that kickstarts the movie's plot. Callie Spengler, Egon's daughter, along with her kids, Phoebe and Trevor, moved to Somerville after being evicted. They really have nowhere else to go, and Callie's relationship with her father was, well, non-existent. She even remarks how there's not even one picture of her in the entire house. But over the course of the film, we'll begin to unravel the mystery of Egon's past and why he chose to shelter himself from the rest of the world, including his family. And things start to get even more mysterious when Phoebe uncovers a hidden floorboard in her grandfather's home, a floorboard which contains a ghost trap, also known as a muon trap. What she doesn't yet know is that the trap contains a demon that could bring about the end of the world, a demon her grandfather sacrificed his life to contain. So naturally she takes the trap to school to be examined by her teacher, Gary Gruberson. Yes, that's his real name. They, along with Phoebe's friend Podcast, attempt to open the trap, not knowing it contains one of the 2 demons needed to awaken Gozer. Now here's where it gets a bit complicated if you haven't seen the original films. Gozer is the main villain, but in order to awaken her, you need her 2 minions, the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper, which take the form of these weird-looking dogs who can also inhabit the bodies of humans. Only when these 2 entities are together and placed on a conduit, like the top of the Central Park apartments in Ghostbusters 1 or the Shandor mine in Afterlife, can Gozer be summoned. If one of these minions were to be trapped or killed, Gozer can't resurrect. So when Phoebe and Gary unknowingly release this minion that was trapped by Egon, they've set in motion a sequence of events which lead to the end of the world. But not to worry, Egon has planned for this. Within the mine lays a giant hole, which contains Gozer and her demonic army. Every once in a while, the demons attempt to escape, causing these unexplained earthquakes around Somerville. But Egon had set up multiple particle throwers, those guns the Ghostbusters use, to keep the demons at bay should they attempt to escape. And this seems to have worked for some time. That is until the Keymaster in Demon Dog form takes control of Paul Rudd's character, and he destroys the particle throwers, allowing hundreds of demons to terrorize the earth. For those of you who have seen the movie, you'll also have noticed 2 interesting things about the Shandor mine. One are the sequence of numbers surrounding the ruins which depict major events. The kids refer to this as a prophecy. For example, here are a list of huge events that it predicted. In the year 1883, it predicted the Krakatoa eruption. In 1908, the Tunguska event, which saw a meteor explode in Siberia, flattening over 80 million trees. But more importantly, there is 1984, which were the events of the original Ghostbusters, and now there's 2021. Something happens this year that could cause terrible destruction. But even creepier than these prophetic numbers is the corpse of Ivo Shandor himself. Something about his body being next to this demonic hole has preserved it, and every time the hole erupts, it brings him to life for a few seconds. And it's only when the demons eventually do get released that Ivo is resurrected back to life. Fun fact, Ivo is played by J.K. Simmons, who has appeared in every one of Jason Reitman's movies. This is a really minor role since a few minutes into his resurrection, he's ironically killed by Gozer, the entity he so desperately tried to resurrect. While this is all going on, Callie uncovers her father's secret lab. Remember how I said he never had any pictures of her? Well, he's got an entire wall of pictures, articles, and achievements down here that he's been keeping track of her whole life. And it becomes apparent to her that yes, her father did abandon her, but it was so he could protect humanity from this impending demonic invasion. And not only that, he's rigged his entire home film to be one giant ghost trap. And this giant ghost trap is where the final act takes us. Phoebe lures Gozer to the farm in an attempt to trap her, but Gozer gains the upper hand, and just as it looks like humanity is doomed, the original Ghostbusters arrive, all dressed up in their uniforms, ready to bust some ghosts. Earlier in the film, Phoebe called former Ghostbuster Raymond Stantz asking for his help, but he didn't seem too keen on helping in one of Egon's crackpot schemes, especially since he abandoned the other Ghostbusters just like he did his family. But when he finds out this is Egon's granddaughter and the fate of the world is at stake, that might have changed his decision. But even the three Ghostbusters aren't strong enough to take down Gozer, and only when Phoebe joins in with her gun, with the help of the ghost of Egon, that they're able to spring the trap and contain Gozer for good. Now, the ghost of Egon doesn't have any lines, and that's because the actor who played him, Harold Ramis, died back in 2014, but there are some really emotional scenes where Callie gets to finally hug her father, even if he's just a ghost. Before the credits roll, there's a nice For Harold dedication that plays. Now, the film does boast a mid and end credit sequence. The mid credits are mainly fan service, which sees Bill Murray's Dr. Peter Venkman and Sigourney Weaver's Dana Barrett recreate the ESP shock test from the original film. It's never explicitly stated whether the two are married, but they can be seen wearing wedding bands. It also takes place in a home, perhaps theirs, and no sign of Oscar, Dana's son, who was just a baby in Ghostbusters 2. In the films, we never find out who his father is. Then there are the much juicier end credit scenes, which sees Winston Zeddemore talking to former Ghostbusters secretary Janine Melnitz. Janine makes an appearance earlier in the film showing Callie the farmstead, and it's implied yet never explicitly stated that she is Callie's mother. This could be true considering Janine had eyes for Egon in the first film. Afterlife even shows a deleted scene from the 1984 movie, which sees Janine give Egon a lucky coin. If you play the scene even further, and apologies for the quality here, this is what Dr. Venkman has to say about their relationship.
Janine, didn't your mama ever tell you not to get involved with no Ghostbuster? Now go on home.
As we continue, we see Winston has turned into quite the businessman, amassing a large fortune with his company. He's even been paying the rent for Ray's bookshop. This fortune looks like it'll come in handy, as Winston can be seen visiting the rundown Ghostbusters fire hall with someone driving in the Ecto-1 car. So it looks as though Winston has bought the property and is ready to bring the Ghostbusters back. And this would probably be a new generation of Ghostbusters, as this film seems to be passing the baton. The final shot, however, is a bit more ominous. The camera focuses on the containment device, one that we've seen in the original movie, flashing red. This is accompanied by some fairly nefarious music suggesting something's in there that wants out. So if they are setting us up for a potential sequel, it looks like it will revolve around getting the Ghostbusters back up and running. No word yet if a sequel has been greenlit, but I want to know what you thought of Ghostbusters Afterlife. Was the franchise brought back from the dead or dead on arrival? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, everyone. Be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can always follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.